I'm going to say a thing or two about the Cape Fear Economic Development Council, and then we'll spend as much time as possible for what you came for a public forum about sustainable economic development and about a vision for this area. But I want to do some housekeeping first. I think you all, when you came in, someone asked you if you wanted to be a part of this conversation and contribute something specific and stand up with ideas or some sense about direction, that you filled out a sheet of paper. There's a lot of different directions to go here, so the idea is you fill out the paper, you put your name on it and indicate whether you want to stand up and say your piece. You know, we're videotaping, we've got audio, so if you have ideas that you came to share and haven't already, can you fill out that sheet, and then Elise or myself can get it back to us in the next minute or two, and in that way we'll sort of facilitate the conversation. So let's take a minute. If you guys haven't already done it, or you've thought of some last minute idea, please give it to Elise. That will be the way that we make sure everyone can be heard, perhaps organize things into themes, make actionable outcomes out of this. One of the things that we want to have this conversation and then develop actions from. So do that. If you haven't already, then I'll just start with a sort of intro about this organization. Is everyone where they need to be? Yeah. Okay, yeah, we can just do that while I'm going to, as I said, actually what we're going to do, I'm going to talk just for a second about Cape Fear Economic Development Council, which is putting on this event. So I'll start just by saying thank you for coming. I'm Ian Esker, and I'm on the board of directors for this organization. I think I'll say something about the organization, and then we'll turn it over to Lloyd, who's going to talk about economic development in this area. I think one of the contexts of this conversation is what already is the case with economic development, before we sort of talk about what might be. So as I said, first of all, like a lot of organizations, early this year, our board of directors is, well, it's larger, but it's also energized. We've had a retreat, and we've done what a lot of groups do. We've done some hard thinking about a mission statement. So the top here is a mission statement for the Cape Fear Economic Development Council. That is, our mission is to fulfill the need for leadership in sustainable economic development and job creation in the Cape Fear region. Sounds simple. We mean it for it to be deceptively simple. We thought very carefully about what that implies and how that might be done, and we think it sort of carves out a need for ourselves. The second paragraph here is the vision statement, so a little bit more about how we might go about this and what the case is right now that Lloyd's going to speak to. But our vision is for a future economic development that is actionable, that is sustainable, and that builds on existing strengths of the region. And I think everyone in this room is acutely aware of the existing strengths of this region. That's one of the main principles we have, that the work we do should be extending and fostering those existing strengths, what it's like to live here, education, history, arts, culture, and so forth. Quality of place is that phrase that we use to describe all of those conditions that make this such a wonderful place. That is the linchpin of this area and what we think economic development is about. The things we wanted to point out here are competitive educational system. That's something we think we can work a lot more on. We want to continue to maintain a thriving art, music, and cultural scene. And then, of course, the natural beauty, the natural resources are absolutely essential for us as an economic development factor. So how do we go about fulfilling this mission? Oh, I wanted to point out, too, I hope you all have seen the website, but we have the website, and on that website we've got the mission and the vision and a little bit more detail about particulars. So, for instance, if you go to this page, you'll see that we're interested in entrepreneurship, we're interested in, as I said, connecting people. One of our core principles is that our organization is involved in connecting resources that are already here. So go to the website if you haven't already. And then how do we go about fulfilling this mission? What do we actually do? Well, we're doing some actual economic development. That is, we're working and discussing partnerships with people. And I'm proud to say that we're practicing a sort of traditional form of economic development. That is, that we are in discussion with businesses that want to move here and do clean business here, and I'm just absolutely proud of the fact that I can't say more about that, but I take it as a measure of our success that we're convening the right dialogue and opening up these avenues, that we're talking with companies about how to do good business here. And that means, site development and connecting people with resources and so forth. So we're doing that. You all remember that last year we were talking about a Green Business Innovation Center. That was the subject of a grant proposal that we did not get. The criteria for selection of this grant that came from the Fed, called the Green Business Fund, the criteria sort of changed underneath our feet. But we thought the idea was such a good one that we're continuing to work out an innovation center downtown that connects green businesses with one another, that helps them find resources and so forth. So that's another thing we're dealing with in partnership. And then, as I mentioned, another thing that we're doing is organizing ourselves. We've started at the beginning of this year with a retreat, and we've grown our board. We comprise 15 directors now. And we are, in addition to these directors, I know we've got a lot of questions about how to plug in and how to be deeply involved with our organization. And I can just say we're working on organizational models that are going to help us grow in the right way. Membership models, funding models. How are we going to grow and maintain these principles? Well, we're working at that, and I hope we can say more about that, and in fact about all of these things. And then perhaps most important, what we're doing is spreading the word. As I said, one of the most important things we think we're up to is actually just connecting people and getting the word out, not about our own organization, but about this area, what it's like to do business here, what it's like to do good business here. So we have this website that I mentioned. We have a newsletter. I hope you all are subscribed to that newsletter. And then more and more we're doing videos. We're actually videoing tonight. The idea is that people come to look at Wilmington and want information about what's going on here. Biofuels are going on here. There's lots of talk about microfinance going on here. So we are trying to spread the word. This event is a perfect example of spreading the word, and this is part of a series we've had. I think you all have been to some of these events, but we had a great school board panel discussion that we did with WHQR. We've had just last month an event on financing. We've had information from experts on biofuels. So see our website for videos, the discussion, and more information about those. That's a series of events, and this is the most recent one. This one is a public forum, as I said, about sustainable economic development. The idea tonight is that we just get together and share, I hope in an actionable way, the ideas about how to work out sustainable economic development in this area. And there's a couple more things I want to say. So economic development, I think Lloyd's going to speak more to this, but well, I think Lloyd will talk more about economic development, but speaking of spreading the word, an important thing for us is to convene meetings like this, and I want to say, among others who are here, Mike Kozlowski is here. He's the executive director at the Metropolitan Planning Organization. So we've also got Mike Giles from the Coastal Federation. So if we talk about things that are important to us, planning, education, the environment, we've got people sharing and listening here that I think are going to be important in this discussion. So, and of course, a lot of my fellow directors are here. So let's have a conversation right now. And I'll turn it over to Lloyd to sort of talk about economic development, and then we can facilitate this conversation with your ideas.
Okay, so we didn't want to make this forum an argumentative session as much as a visioning session. So that's why we titled it more thing about vision. Hopefully these are not just anything on their own. But I think that naturally there's going to be some conflict between what people want, and I think this is an opportunity for us to just sort of throw out wild ideas, but also to, and it is quite advanced on me, so pardon that. But I wanted to just point out the official structure so that we can get our thought from I brought some slides from an MPA student who did a nice job of just summarizing the assets that have been deployed at federal, state, and regional levels. And let's see if this doesn't. So her name is Adrienne McTeague, and I have to give her credit. I pulled a lot of slides from what she has. But just to give you a summary, you've got U.S. Department of Commerce. It's continuing to do it. And this Southeast Region Economic Development Agency out of Atlanta to the North Carolina Department of Commerce, which empowers then NC Southeast, which is our region, North Carolina, as well as the North Carolina Film Commission. I'm not an expert in this, so I'm borrowing this information. I'm sure we have more experts in this room. But this just sort of a general overview of the official structure of funding and efforts around economic development. Then additional participants that you might identify, and I'm sure I missed some, but I just went through the sources that I normally refer to. You have this North Carolina Military Business Center, which is very active, Board of Science and Technology with the 1NC program and the Green Business Fund, Biotechnology Center, Biofuels Center of North Carolina, IEI, or Institute for Emerging Issues, and the Council for Entrepreneurial Development, which is entrepreneurship at a regional level, and I think they have an impact statewide. We used to have an entity here that coordinated with them, but I think that's now defunct and replaced effectively by the UNCW Entrepreneurship Center. So at a local level, you can see that that group gets even larger. So all of these entities claim economic development as one of their important efforts, or one of the areas that they focus their efforts. And you'll see Chamber of Commerce, us, Coastal Carolina's Model Business Alliance for a Sound Economy, UNCW Entrepreneurship Center, Small Business Technology Development Center, which is not doing all of those things, but certainly part of it. So you have Wilmington Downtown, Downtown Business Alliance. I'm sure that there's one other downtown organization I'm missing, and so forth. So it's a long list. This slide, you won't be able to digest it all, but there's some significant dates in here. I think that the convention center is an important one in the context of economic development. The creation of Wilmington Industrial Development and spinning it out as a corporation on its own in 1960. So if you want the slide, we've got. I can send this to you later. But I wanted to just give you a couple of things out of Adrian's MPA capstone presentation. Because I think these are really nice outcomes from a survey of folks involved in economic development locally. Distinguishable assets, surveying most influential people that she could find. The most significant asset that they all identified was natural resources. University and college, UNCW, Shaker Community College, history and culture. You can see the list. It agrees with what we as an organization are about, which is paying attention to those things. Barriers in terms of growing the area, the number one was lack of leadership and trust. And you can go down the list, but I'll just leave it to you. If you want the slides, I'll give it to you later. About cooperation, people did not strongly agree with the established and new talent work together cooperatively. I think you could call us new talent. I don't know if you call us talent, but new, certainly. So, salient points that I would just leave with you would be that there are very few organizations that are receiving public funds to do this kind of work. WID, Wilmington Downtown, I'm not sure if there are others. And there are a lot of organizations who are calling this part of their job. And as I understand it, there's no official economic development staff at either the city or the county. So just to leave you with those thoughts. So that's all I have. Hand it over to Elise now.
All right. You got stuff for this one?
Sheets, get more sheets from you guys for one out. All right, well, thank you all again for coming.